Well, folks, we made it to season 7. Welcome to the Vulnerability Time podcast. I am your host, Josias Abriel, and published author. Speaking of published author, before the episode starts, make sure to go check out my books. They're available on Amazon, and the link is in the episode description below. Go ahead, get you some healing. One's a poetry book about overcoming pain and trauma and stuff like that, and then the other one's a self-awareness interactive journal notebook. So get you some healing. You're worth it. Another thing that you're worth all the love in the world. You're worth all the healing in the world, and I'm glad that you're here with us today to heal together. You are loved, you are valuable. This is your sign. Alrighty, enjoy the episode. Bye, folks! Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Vulnerability Time. I am your host and published author, Josias Abriel. With us today, we have Cristiano. Cristiano, before we get into our topics, tell us a little bit about you. Any credentials or, things like that.
Yeah, my name is Cristiano. I am from Italy. I have moved to Australia in 2018 and I lived in Melbourne for 7 years. I was working as a personal trainer, so in the fitness industry. And after my spiritual experience with ayahuasca, end of 2024, I've decided to quit my job and return to my motherland. And I am actually writing my first book at the moment and working on my platform, trying to build them. So this is where I'm at.
Wonderful. I had folks, the season 7 premiere that released a couple days ago. She also talks about ayahuasca.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so I thought that's really cool. So Cristiano's going to tell us more about it. Hey, and when your book is released, remember to let me know so I can let everyone else know.
Yeah, we'll do.
Um, yes, folks, so stay tuned for that. Um, so Cristiano, so here are the topics Cristiano and I, folks, got together on the pre-meeting. So we'll be talking about how plant medicine has helped Cristiano face childhood trauma and relationship patterns, the power of shadow work in healing emotional wounds. Excuse me, the power of shadow work in healing emotional wounds, and why self compassion and being present are the true keys to transformation. Cristiano, take us through it. Which one would you like to discuss first?
Let's discuss my ayahuasca experience.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
So, for those that don't know, tell us a little bit about ayahuasca.
Yeah. So how I got to know about ayahuasca in the first place? It was middle 2024. I was going through a breakup, and I was reactive. Um, I was getting easily triggered within the relationships and afterwards, and in other things in life, such as my professional career. And I wanted to investigate why, because I've never had the awareness to before. So I started to research about emotions like fear or doubts, um, lack of self-esteem, lack of confidence, because they were the kind of emotion that I would feel on a daily basis. Just brokenness in general. I felt like there was something wrong with me, and I couldn't relate to people. I was struggling to connect with people, so I was unhappy. And I came across a physician. His name is Gabor Mate. Um, he's a physician. He lives in Canada and he does work with trauma, childhood, healing. And he's had a experience with ayahuasca himself, in which he was explaining in the book that he went to this retreat to lead people and to help people, sort out their trauma. But he ended up being the one being led because he had so much dark energy carrying from his job, which was to deal with patients on a daily basis.
Mhm.
That these shamans, they prohibited him to be responsible for people, and so they put him in isolation. And this story fascinated me a lot. Um, at that time, I was also doing. I was going to a psychologist. I was seeing a psychologist, and I didn't feel it was the right approach for me because we kept talking and talking and talking about things of the past, but we never really got to the core issue of my trauma, what I was struggling with. So I've decided that, knowing that I'm a person that I like to go deep into things, I decided that ayahuasca was the way for me. So, at that time, I got in touch with the temple. You have to go through an application process, which in the end was successful. And then I've decided to go to South America for 12 days and working with ayahuasca.
Gotcha. Okay, and so did the how did that help you, face your childhood trauma and relationship patterns? Like, what's the story behind that?
Yeah. So I went there with clear intentions,
Mm.
which I have set before the retreat, with one of the facilitator that works for the temple, because they provide preparation services. It is not a psychology session; it's more a somatical process. So working with this facilitator um, helped me to make the process less logical and more somatical, so I could feel the sensation in my body. And from then we set the intentions. So with the help of someone, I've set my intentions. And knowing the patterns that I had in my relationships, which were to be reactive, to think that my partner was doing or saying certain things on purpose to trigger me, I couldn't detach myself from the fact that wasn't the truth. And and that was because I was still reactive to traumas that I had when I was a child, to the situation I grew up in, my family dynamics, my culture. And so I had a bit of understanding of the traumas I had, but going deeper and working with ayahuasca not only helped me to get even clearer, but it helped me to go through them, to actually feel the trauma and not escape from them like I used to do to cope with it. And so to actually have that felt experience, emotionally and somatically, um, ultimately it's what allow me to move on from them and to own them and not to be a victim and a slave of my traumas.
Gotcha, gotcha. Does that at all connect to like your journey with like shadow work?
Yes, absolutely. Because so the medicine, that's what they call it, ayahuasca. They call it the medicine.
Mm.
It is a hinensa for your emotions. So whatever emotion you're feeling, ayahuasca amplifies that. So when you have to face difficult emotions like self-doubts, fear, um, jealousy, grief, these sort of like powerful emotion
Hmm.
that usually people see them as negative, but they're actually not. They just like any other emotions if you know how to deal with it. And shadow work is also that. It's not only seeing and appreciating, you know, easy emotions like happiness, joy, calm, peacefulness, but it's also to have the courage to sit with emotions that are not comfortable. So I used to do shadow work before the retreat,
Mhm.
and I used to journal. I used to talk with people. Um, but as I said before, going to work with ayahuasca, um, it was a completely different experience because when you journal, it's easy to make it logical, and it's easy to be sometimes theoretical about your emotions, and not we're not actually feeling them. We're just thinking of them. So for me, um, which I learn practically, any sort of new stuff. I'm a practical learner, um, and going to work with ayahuasca allow me to break free from these logical patterns
Right.
and to give myself time and space to to allow these emotions to be,
Yeah.
uh, to then see them dissolve.
Yeah. So you would you so you would you say that obviously shadow work is not easy, but would you say that
No,
it is worth it?
it is worth it if it's not obsessive.
Mm.
That's my experience.
Mm.
Because sometimes when we get too obsessed, then it's also unhealthy. But I think everyone benefits from some sort of shadow work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it must be done with someone who knows how to guide you. You shouldn't be left alone to do shadow work because it's challenging and it's confronting to a degree, like to a very deep degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Folks, sorry in advance if you hear rain in the background. It is pouring outside. Um, Sorry, Cristiano. Um,
Okay.
so when you mention like obsessive, what does that mean? Like, like in regards to like shadow work, like what does that like mean? I'm a little confused.
Yes. So I'll tell you a little bit how I started the shadow work.
Hmm.
Um, and that's what I also suggest to people. I was lucky. I had a good guidance. So for the people who are not familiar with shadow work, so we all have a shadow, right? And that's the part of ourself that we despise, that we don't like,
Mm.
all the traits that we don't like. Um, but the tricky thing is that most of this trait is what we despise and judge in other people too. And we subconsciously don't realize that we are also doing these sort of things, and we saying these sort of things. So we get triggered by other people, and we get triggered by ourselves. So it's a judgment loop that we create in our mind, and sometimes it's really hard to get out of. And the shadow, it's always changing, it's always evolving. It's not a fixed thing, but it's important to know what's your shadow. And in my case, it was attention. So I am someone who likes to be at the center of attention, but I'm also scared of it. And this dynamic, keeps playing in my life, and that's showing me where my fears are, where my potential can be. So it's my responsibility in this case to give myself time to reflect on these dynamics, and not to be a slave of them, but to gain empowerment from it. So it's very easy. You can just pay attention to your day, go through your normal day, and then when you get back home in the evening, you can just write on paper every time that day you get triggered by something. It requires radical truth and radical honesty towards yourself hence why it's complicating sometimes and it's confronting. But knowing why you get triggered and knowing how you can instead, be responsive rather than reactive, so maintaining certain level of control over your reactions.
Right.
I think it's the key to, you know self-esteem, empowerment.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That was very, very well said, Cristiano. And so something that I am interested in hearing on more about um is self-compassion and presence being like crucial for transformation. Um I can see the self-compassion part, but the presence part, it's not something I thought about. Um
Yeah.
so can you tell us your story behind why self-compassion and presence are, super important for, transformation?
Yeah. Well, self-compassion, it goes back to what I've mentioned about being a somatical process. So actually tuning in with our bodies. Um, and it can be really easy to do compassionate practices.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, I don't think it's enough to tell ourselves, be nice, be kind, these sort of affirmations. We can do them, but sometimes it's a bit superficial.
Yeah.
um, I think I think everyone can benefit from caring for our bodies a little bit more, because it's a gift, and our emotions are, stored in the body. So a practice that I learned to do working with ayahuasca is to, anytime I feel an emotion coming up, I sit in a meditation position, and I tune in with my body with my eyes closed, and I try to spot where the emotion is showing up in my body. So, anytime I would, as I said before, be scared of being a center of attention, I would feel a lump in my throat, that would make my voice tremble. And by doing this compassionate practice, to sit there and actually just simply putting a hand on my throat, on my heart, it makes so much difference. It doesn't have to be complicated. So that's why compassion it's so important. um, and it doesn't have to be complex
Right.
at all. um, and then what was the other question?
Yes, the um presence.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
So with presence, considering my experience, I left my country in 2018, and the first 2 years went easy because I was still in denial of patterns that were keeping me stuck. Um, such as, pretending to be someone I wasn't, and building this character around me
Hmm.
just to appear tough, just to appear, a hard guy. When in reality, I've always been a sensitive kind of person. So, I was ashamed of showing my sensitivity.
Hmm.
Uh, so I was absolutely slandering my present moment by escaping, and into things that didn't belong to me initially. So anytime I would feel discomfort, you know, I went through a binge eating phase. I went through a phase where I was training myself to exhaustion during the night, or like, with sex as well, just like following my impulsions
Hmm.
rather than controlling them. And that was all because I lacked the courage to be in the present moment, which was discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, presence directly links with manifestation. So, manifestation is not creating a false narrative of the future or a bright future when our present moment doesn't feel good. To manifest, we have to be present, which means if we are experiencing jealousy, for example, we must give ourselves space and time to feel what it feels to be jealous, to feel what it feels to be fearful of the dark, for example.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, that's why presence is so important, because if we skip these steps to feel the emotions, we are creating a loop in which we are always running away from them, and eventually they will come up at some point, always. So it is better to actually sit with them now and go through them now, even though it's uncomfortable because it sucks. But it is a long term benefit.
Yeah.
So we're playing the long term game. And that's why, for me, presence is one of the most important tools to cultivate awareness. Yeah.
That was very beautifully said. I completely agree. That was very, very beautifully said. Um, hmm.
Do you have any experiences where you like lacked presence, or you've used presence to process some of the traumas you had?
Yeah, that's what I do. Ever since 15, which is when I died and went to the other
Oh yeah.
side and came back. Ever since then, just completely brand new person, literally completely brand new. So that day, February 23rd, 2013, also just kicked off my healing journey, and made me be a fan of like, being present, like acknowledging what I'm feeling, and allowing myself to, recognize it and not like push it under a rug just because it's uncomfortable, you
Yeah.
know. And so I just kind of like trained myself like that. And so I remember I told like my psychiatrist a couple months ago, I was like, I don't have that luxury of sweeping things under the rug like, I see other people have, and I say luxury because there, of course, have been times, not many, but there have been some times where I wish that I could just give myself like a break and not like face, I wish that there have been times where I wish that I could pretend, um, knowing that long term how that affects the brain and the body. It is not
Mm.
healthy to push things under the rug. That is not what the body is meant to do. It's not meant to do that at all, and I know the science behind it, like that's part of like my research and things like that. However, but before 15, before I died, 1000%, there were some things, most things actually, where I tried so hard to push it under the rug, but it was so strong that it didn't stay long. It
Yeah.
just didn't. Things were just piling up and it just didn't stay long. However, being present with my emotions, like I just didn't want to. I was never taught to.
Yeah.
I was taught very uh to be very like just toxic masculinity, if if that
Yeah.
term means, yeah. Um, and I try not to use that term anymore. I try to use like different term like broken masculinity. However, but
Yeah.
like or like misunderstood masculinity. Like I try to use like those like kind of more graceful terms because
Yeah.
I'm able to see how like society and cultures can really limit, like try to put people in a box and
Yeah.
strip the humanity and just make them who is acceptable, quote unquote, to that society, to that culture. And so, however, before 15, I didn't even think none of this. So in that time in my life, I viewed it as toxic masculinity. But
Yeah.
yeah, so to answer your question, yes, then I definitely did not, for example, like if I was like hurt by someone, I didn't want to show that,
Yeah, of course.
you know? And so and now I'm just like, oh my goodness, like I will say like I am hurting, I am crying, I'm so like I'm just sad about it. I'm gonna go cry about it. Like
Yeah.
I say that happily, and I'm such an advocate for, like being present with one's emotions. Um yeah, because like at, we're we're human beings,
Yeah.
having a human experience. And I've noticed that different societies, different cultures can tell individuals be man but don't be human, or be this but don't be human. It's just like putting in that box like, oh, all men should not cry. But I was like, but men are humans.
Yeah.
Society tells us be a man but don't be human, be a woman but don't be human. Like,
So conditional. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I'm just like, wow, that is just limiting and putting people in a box. And there's just so much self-hatred, insecurities. There's just so much things that occur in the realm of limitation, because yes, though the boxes can be limiting, things grow in that limitation,
Yeah.
because of that limitation. And oftentimes, it's not things that benefit ourselves or others oftentimes. And so yeah, but I don't know why I got off on that little tangent there. But I guess too, I was relating to what you said earlier about
Yeah.
having to like be um what like, for example, like parents want you to be, or said that this is who you should be, and
Yeah.
not actually just being who you were meant to be, whatever that may look like. So yeah, like that's why, like, that's how like my parents were. Like I remember I asked my mother, I was like, did you have like expectations of who you wanted me to be before I was even born?
That's a very courageous question to ask your mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she of course said no, but she does tend to lie a lot, but like her actions and her words, say it all without saying, yeah, I have expectations on you of who you want me to be before. It's just like, forget who I am. It's just who you want me
Yeah.
to be. You want like this robot. And I'm just like, no, no.
I think because as much as I mean, depending on how we grew up, right?
Yeah.
As much as we feared our parents to a degree,
Mm,
you know, I wasn't good at school, so I feared that when I was coming back home, like they would be, angry at me. So
yeah.
as much as there's some truth in that, there's also some truth in the fact that parents that might feel the same once they see their kids growing up and understanding more about the world or understanding more about emotions themselves. So by you asking that question to your mother, she might have felt a bit defensive, I guess, and
Yeah.
that's why that's why she didn't say the truth, even though you felt that the truth wasn't the one spoken.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And yeah. And I also like what you said, because like for me, I am proud to be a sensitive, empathetic person. I'm proud to say, like, I don't blink twice anymore when like I will just instantly say I'm gonna go cry, or I
yeah,
need to cry. One, because I looked at the psychology behind it. It is actually very, very damaging long term for humans to not cry. Like,
yeah,
it's like our body, um, when something is not doing our body well, our body tries to love us enough to purge it out in
Yeah.
any way, shape, or form. And so it's like it can look like tears, it can look like, and it can look like many things, it
A
can look,
laugh.
yeah, laughter, it can look like, a hug, a compliment, like it can just look like many things. But I noticed, like, at least for me, and with the tons of research that I have done, you know, when there's some things like traumas, and I'll just speak for myself, once upon a time, I wasn't addressing those and I didn't want to, but my
Yeah.
body was trying to love me enough to just get it out. And I wasn't
Yeah.
letting it do that necessarily. So it did it in its own ways. It did it through addiction. It did it through this. It did it through anger. It did it through, you know, um, insecurity. It also attacked itself. It was just trying to purge out, just like when someone needs to vomit or
Yeah.
something, or like use the restroom, like it's not healthy to keep that in. Your body is like,
Yeah.
it's time to release this, whatever this is. It's not serving us, so it's time to release. And so now I mean, I don't agree with my parents at all. I just don't. But I do understand that, they were also, programmed by society as well,
Yeah.
And so I see this view now of like, um, a lot of things didn't start with people, it started to them. Because once upon a time, they were kids that just did not know. And they were
Yeah. They were
just,
just innocent, innocent being,
mm-hmm.
pure being.
Yeah,
It's like every kid. Yeah.
yeah. And so that's helped me go down that path of like grace and forgiveness and just understanding. I don't agree. I don't agree with him, but like I mean I'm just like, okay, that does make sense though. I'm like, okay, like once upon a time. I mean that doesn't mean they're not responsible though for their
Yeah. Yeah.
actions, but it's just saying like, okay, yeah, that's true. Like that's where they're that come from. Because me personally, I would view them as just the beings that try to limit me. Adult beings, I did not view them as they were once upon a time kids. Because when it comes to kids, I have all the
Yeah.
empathy and compassion in the world and all the understanding in the world. So it's like I had
Yeah.
to see them a little bit like that in order to,
Yeah.
to get that. And so,
I
yeah.
relate to that because I used to see my parents as superheroes,
Mm,
and especially after my ayahuasca experience, it happened the same to me. It was like a flip the switch in my mind, um, because I've noticed how how messy I am inside, and I now know where that's coming from. So I can relate to my parents trying to control me, or my parents getting extremely angry at me for no reason sometimes. And that's because not because of my fault, not because there's something wrong with me, but because they have been themselves conditioned by their parents, and their parents. It's a generational thing. And in the past there wasn't enough attention on the emotional side of things, especially in Italy. I'm talking about my country. So it's a very traditional country, and certain things they still get passed on these days. But I can see them now how they are limiting to the expansion of our human souls.
mhm,
Um, so for me, seeing my dad, for example, as a normal human being, and his story is just part of his story. It doesn't define him, just like nothing defines me. So creating that separation in a way in between being my parents, they're actually just normal human beings that they had a kid, and sometimes they didn't know how to manage that kid. It's that simple.
mm,
And it's nobody's fault. It's not my fault, it's not their fault. as you said, we're all responsible for our actions individually and as a collective also. But yeah, we need to maintain awareness that our parents, they are not, the one to blame. They are not. They don't have, superpowers.
Mm, right. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that you said that. Yeah, because it was this yesterday. I had a conversation and I was talking about like how I was like, um, based off like the research that I have done and do, because I'm a PhD student.
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, what I have found is, and it's controversial, but it's that a lot of times it's not not talking about their as in parents. I'm just saying like in general, like for example, like when it comes to like crime, it's like a lot of times it's not their fault. It is their responsibility though, because it's their actions, but it did not start with them. And and
Yeah.
it talks, and so basically it's like how trauma slash adverse childhood experiences, how that um affects adulthood, and how it you know changes the brain, it reshapes the brain, it areas of the brain that are meant to regulate impulse control or
Yeah.
regulate emotion. There are many people that don't have that.
Yeah.
They don't have that, and it wasn't their fault that they don't have that. And now we see from their actions, we see through crime, through outbursts, through toxic relationships, like we see um the manifestation of a brain that has been damaged at a vulnerable stage. And society, at least I don't here in America, like and I love America, don't get me wrong, but like mental health, it's something that it's slow to be talked about, but it needs to be talked about, because it was just like, oh no, like I was just like, yeah, no, 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 the brain, we'll start seeing certain actions 10 years from now, and then we're going to complain and wish, oh, I wish that didn't happen, oh, I
Yeah.
wish they didn't do that. But I'm just like, well, it could have been, their actions maybe could have been prevented if there was support, if there was guidance, if there was facing things, if there was because but that's what that made me think about. What you had just said was the fact that it's like, yes, so there are so many things that aren't people's fault. It just really isn't their fault. I mean, it's still their responsibility, but it's not their fault.
No, it almost creates a splits in personality, like a fragmented self, pretty
Hmm.
much. So we all have, when we have a saying in Italy that sometimes your temple veins, they close, so there's no oxygen goes to the brain, and you just start to make unconscious decision about certain stuff that sometimes they are easy,
Yeah.
and you don't have that capacity to think clear anymore. um, so it's all, yeah, again, it's, as you've mentioned, we're not, it didn't start with us, but somehow we keep blaming ourselves, um, and we don't, and it's, yeah, we just can't find a solution sometimes, but
Mm.
um,
Yeah. Yeah. You know, that is beautiful that you said that, because yeah, yeah, we need to, yeah, the blaming of the self. I needed to hear that, but I needed to hear that. So,
that's what we do, isn't it?
oh yeah.
We just blame ourselves,
Hmm.
for everything, from just the simple things. Maybe you say hi to a stranger, and the stranger doesn't reply to you because he's thinking about something else. And like the first, I know that because sometimes I still do that, so I need to remind myself that's not the case. And then the first thing I think is, oh, did I say something wrong? Like, what's wrong with me? I should have kept quiet.
Hmm.
No, the answer is no. I said hi because I was feeling to say hi, and their reaction, doesn't define
Mhm.
how I'm feeling now.
Right.
What I did spontaneously should define how I'm feeling now, not somebody else's reaction.
Right.
And that's just our human, yeah, the human brain is also programmed to, seek validation, external validation. We are programmed like that.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it as long as we first validate ourselves, and then whatever comes externally, that's just a bonus.
Mm.
But yeah, relying on just external validation to make um, to make ourselves feel worthy, it's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. I completely agree with you. And one other thing that I wanted to mention, so you mentioned like the plant medicine and the season 7 premiere, her name is Morgan.
Yeah,
It was so interesting how she was able to experience things that I experienced when I died and went on the other side.
I'm super curious about your experience.
Oh yeah.
How
Okay.
did that happen? Or I mean, if you're open
I
to
am.
share.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I totally am. So, well, okay, so 15, I died by suicide. I committed suicide. I took a bunch of pills and died. Left my
yeah,
body and I got to go on the other side. I call it. Some people, well, Earth calls it heaven. I call it other side or eternity because I think heaven is very limiting to the amazement that is on the other side. It's
yeah,
just too vast to be contained. You know,
yeah,
it's just too vast and beautiful and amazing. But I got to go on the other side. I felt like I was home. I felt like I've been there before. And now I know I have. We all have.
yeah,
And it was so it was so beautiful. It was weird because not weird, but in a way I was fully spirit, but I also was still somehow connected to my human self.
yeah,
Um and I think that was done on purpose so that my human self can experience the other side as well. Because my human self needed to know what it feels like to be loved. You know, ever since I was like up until 15, I didn't know that my parents didn't love me. I didn't know that. I thought that abuse, I thought that hatred, I thought that, the things that my father was doing to me, I thought that that was normal. I didn't
yeah,
know. I didn't know at all. 15, didn't know until I went on the other side, and that was love. Like, that was love. I learned a lot of things. For example, I learned that hell isn't real, and that's great to know. That was
yeah,
great to know because I was always told that I was going to hell. My dad was a pastor and very, very Um, I don't like to call humans evil anymore, but as a human being, I don't have positive things to say about him. How about that?
yeah. That's fine.
Yeah,
That's fair.
what he did to not just me, but to other people, other children as well.
Yeah,
Yes, so and then I got to meet this being who I now know was the Jesus guy. And the Jesus that I met was not the Jesus that was taught about in church. And and it could have been, I could have met Buddha, I could have met Muhammad, I could have met, all these other ascended
yeah,
masters. But it was strategic that I met Jesus. Why? Because I was taught that he hated me so much, like
yeah,
so much. And so he comes up and hugs me. And oh my God, it was just amazing. Like, I didn't want to leave that moment. on the other side, there are colors there that we've never seen before on Earth. Um, the plants there, they're more than like they are here on this earth. Like here on this earth, like we look at a plant and we're just like, oh, look at that rose. Like, look at that flower. It's just beautiful. It
Yeah.
maybe flows with the wind here and there, but the plants there, some of them I've never seen on earth before, but some of them they were like they looked like they came from earth. But
Yeah.
you can feel the plants. They are aware of you. They love you. They were swaying towards you. It's like you were one with everything. You were one with love. You were one with peace and just joy and amazement. And all that pain that I was feeling as a human, it literally got lifted. When I was taking those pills to leave, I was crying. And somehow I remembered my tears just going away. They were just going away. And I felt very light. Why? Because I was out of this human vessel. Still to
Yeah.
this day,
You were
because
a spirit.
huh? Yeah,
You were a spirit.
I was like spirit, I was energy, yes. And still to this day, Cristiano, I because I had that experience, I still feel a little weight, a little heaviness, just because like I know what it feels like to be
Yeah.
weightless. Therefore, I know what it feels like to be, in a weight. So it was just a very, very beautiful experience. I knew also that I've lived um other places as in like other planets. Like I knew that I've had past lives before.
Yeah.
um and I wish, looking back, I wish I got to meet, those beings that I knew in those past lives, because it would have been really nice. But I mean, everything was just amazing. But looking back now, like, I would love to know what like a parent's hug feels like. I
Yeah.
don't know what that's like on this earth. My human doesn't know, but I did get to receive so, so much love. And then yeah, so it felt like I was there for a long time. Um
Yeah.
but I guess I was not there for a long time on earth time. And it
Yeah.
also taught me that time here is very, we have a different unhealthy, limiting,
Yeah.
anxiety provoking view of time on this earth, because
Yeah.
time is on like it's just, it's more linear on the other side. Like everything's happening at once, and I don't know how else to explain it, but everything,
I
past,
know.
present, future, happening all at once, so
Yeah.
it was just a very beautiful experience. And honestly, to anyone listening, I want y'all to know that on Earth, we have been taught strategically by entities that may not have had the best of our, you know, existence and
Interest.
interest, but we have been taught a very, very broken view of death. Death is literally transition. Of course, you're gonna grieve, and that's normal. Do grieve, be angry, be upset, cry. Like yes, do that. Um, but I want to encourage anyone that when it is your time, know that there is nothing to fear. It is so beautiful, and it's so beautiful. It's so loving. You're just gonna wow. It's really beautiful.
Transitioning to another life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And folks, if there's anything that you wish you would have done in this life, like if you have any regrets, you can always reincarnate back on Earth. Like you have that choice, you have that free will. I'm not coming. I don't think I'm gonna come back. I hope I don't. But no, no. Like you have that free will. You can stay in eternity. You can come back to Earth. You can go to another place and live. Most places are more harmonious than Earth. Earth is known as the hardest dimension and the shortest dimension. Yeah, so I think we can tell that, but I did learn on the other side, and this might sound crazy to some, but folks, Once you leave this earth, you'll know what I'm talking about. But Cristiano, Earth is the hardest dimension, and I just applaud anybody who has incarnated here because this place is not easy. No one comes here to be perfect. This place is not easy. It is very, very unique. It is where love and hate exist at the same time. It's
Yeah,
where joy and mourning exist at the same time, whereas most other places, um, it's just joy. It's
yeah,
harmonious. There's not wars and children don't die and mental health doesn't exist. Trauma is not a thing, you
yeah,
know. But here on Earth is very unique. It's very quick. It's very short. Um, and I soon I will I'm gonna ask, I want to know, what makes Earth so important. I want to know, like, because there are certain entities that also are, you know, a fan of Earth, certain entities that aren't necessarily, have folks' best interest in mind.
yeah.
But Earth is important, and I don't see why anymore. I just don't see why anymore. Um, but folks, my time here is winding down on Earth. I do know that ever since I have died and came back, I have been able to get certain dreams slash visions that end up coming true. And so I know that my time here within the next 2 months to 3 years, I'm not going to be on this earth anymore. Um, and I don't mean that in a sad way. I mean, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. I've done everything that I feel like my soul needed to do on this earth ever since I was a kid, even before I died, Cristiano. Like, I knew I wasn't going to be here long. I just knew that. Like, I had that feeling. I knew it, and, you know, um, yeah, I did what I, huh?
Sorry to interrupt. What are the last few things that you want to do as a physical human being,
Um,
if
one,
any?
two, it's two things. Um, One, I want to be able to go on a date with a man that able to see, like, who has seen all of me and still like accepts me, because I'm used to people, as soon as they find out I have depression, and I don't even show it, like I just don't, like, I mean, tons of therapy, medication, all that stuff, like, you can't really tell that I have depression unless I say it, but as soon as I say it, they like run. And if that keeps
Yeah,
happening, that can show me, like, okay, whoa, like, I'm not, like, I'm lovable and I'm worthy of love and I am love and I know that, but like, is this earth capable of, you know showing that to me?
yeah.
So that, and that is happening. And then the next thing was to get my PhD degree. However, I am satisfied knowing that I made it into the program and knowing that I've gotten like mostly good grades. So I'm
Yeah.
just like, yeah, but there's nothing else like left. I've done everything that I wanted to do. I do think that I came to this earth for a very selfless reason. And if you come here for like a selfish reason, like, that's not a bad thing. It's like it's not a bad thing at all. I came here more for others. I didn't come here for myself. And I did what I needed to do, and it's about time. I know it's about time. I feel it. Things are
Yeah.
starting to happen. Um,
How do you relate to those dreams, visions that you have? I'm asking because
mhm,
after I came back from my ayahuasca experience, I've gained purpose and direction from my oniric experiences,
mhm,
and from paying attention to the messages. I call them, like, they feel divine messages. Um, Feels like I'm speaking, not speaking, that I'm listening to someone, that I'm receiving from someone. So I'm curious to see how do you relate to that aspect of our minds?
Yeah. So the best that I can say is like, and it took me a couple years to get it, but um I paid a close attention to the feeling and the symbolism. Like what's
Yeah,
symbolic about this? Like, you know, so that's sorry, I'm burping. So that's the best like I can say is like I looked at the symbolism in the feeling because on the other side we feel like when
yeah,
we feel and that blows my mind that humans tell each other don't feel. No, 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 we feel like we are very feeling beings,
yeah,
and so and then also it's kind of like a download and I just like know it in my spirit, in my soul, and it's like a deep knowing that I really can't explain any other way. But the at first I didn't believe everything um until it started happening. And
yeah,
so that's how I was able to like learn. I was like, okay, it became reality, and this is what's symbolic about the moon shining. Like, okay, the moon, for this is an example. I'm not saying a moon shined,
yeah,
but
yeah,
for example, like a moon can symbolize courage because it's shining even on the darkest of nights, so it can symbolize something courageous.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. What's your do you how do you look up those symbols? Is it something that you do by reflecting on the visions, or you looked it up online, or what's your
I
process?
tried looking it up online, but I just got multiple answers, multiple valid
Yeah,
answers, but it just started to confuse me. So what
yeah,
I did was it took like time to like reflect. So like most of those dream visions, I don't even know what to call them because they're so much more significant, you know?
yeah. They are real experiences. In fact, I when I described about them, like calling them dreams, it feels restricted
Yeah,
because
exactly. It feels so, yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. And so yeah, so most times it's like over the span of months I'm able to figure out what it was telling me. Only a few
yeah,
times have I able to figure it out like right then and there. Um
yeah,
for example, I haven't I don't talk to my family. Um
yeah,
I didn't know my grandmother was dying, and then the when the doctors said it's time to say goodbye, I got this dream slash vision. Mind you, I lived 2.5, 3 hours away from all of them, and I've not talked to my grandmother in like years, you
yeah,
know. But I knew she was dying that morning. I woke up and I started crying. Um, and no one told me anything. I just knew. And so I called
yeah.
my mother, who I had not spoken to in a while. I called her, and immediately the first thing she said is, "Grandma's dying." And I was like, wow, because I told her, I was like, I just had a dream, and the dream
Yeah,
said, "Mother is dying. What's happening?" And it turns out it wasn't my mother, it was her mother.
yeah.
Um, so
That's
I
powerful.
always have gotten those things. Like I've been able to like tell people like their future, and it comes true. I'm not able to
Yeah,
do that anymore. I don't know if I just haven't done that in a while, but like, because I don't just tell people, like I actually have to like know, have that download from like higher self, the spirits, whatever. Um, yeah, so I'm just was able to tell that there's something that I also know that's going to happen, and it looks like it is actually happening. And it's something that I didn't want to happen, but because it's a very dark thing, but it's like darkness isn't the only path to love, and I mean, like darkness can be a path to love and light, and you know, new earth is coming, and but it's not coming in a It's not. It's a lot of devastation's gonna happen.
Yeah.
That's what's gonna trigger peace and love and
Yeah.
yeah.
We
So
must go through them.
yeah, we must go through it. It sucks because I'm not a fan of devastation, but like I do know it's necessarily. But folks, if you don't know what New Earth is, just Google it. We're running out of time here on the show on this episode, but Cristiano, I'd love to video call again and just tell you a little bit more and answer any more questions that you might have, for
Yeah,
me.
sure. I have questions, and I feel I can relate to what you're saying a lot,
Okay, I
especially
would love
in
to hear more
to,
about that too.
yeah, especially when it comes to like oniric experiences. Um, in fact, I just created a page on my blog where I share about my experiences and how they are supporting my integration
Mm,
after my ayahuasca experience,
mm,
and how they are allowing me to gain a sense of purpose in life.
yeah,
And I've created tools for myself
yeah,
to become more intimate with my visions, um,
mm,
and to let them guide me in my waking life as
yeah.
well.
That's
Um,
yeah, that's beautiful. Seriously, that's really beautiful. Thanks for saying that's comforting hearing that. I would love to chat more. I do have another
yes,
episode in 2 minutes.
no
Um,
worries.
so Cristiano, folks, check out Cristiano's stuff in the episode description below. I will see y'all next time for whatever episode that is. Okay, Cristiano, go ahead and schedule. Um, it won't be a podcast. It'll just be me and you talking.
Yeah, yeah,
But I
sure, we'll
know we're
do.
in like different time zones, so go on my calendar again and schedule
Yeah,
an under episode. And so
yes,
we can chat
yeah,
then. Yeah.
perfect. My pleasure, man.
Okay. Alrighty. I'll
Good.
keep you updated on Podmatch. I'll confirm that the episode's
Yes,
been recorded and then I'll let you know when it's going to be released. Okay, but go ahead and schedule
cool.
with me, okay?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Have fun with your next episode.
Thanks. Talk to you later.
Take
Bye.
care.
Alrighty, folks. Oh, I'm so excited for whatever this next episode's going to be. Okay. I'll get on out of here and come on back.